So now it's time to put on your headphones if you want to listen in to this next talk, which I think you should. It's about the journey from research to startup. So please welcome Christian and Nynne onto the stage.
Thank you very much, Jens. We're very happy to be here. My name is Nynne, and I have been part of building the entrepreneurial ecosystem since 2003. And the past year, I've been with Open Entrepreneurship in the Central Hub, working to facilitate our network of and entrepreneurs and facilitating the development and collaboration between business units at the universities. And Christian, do you want to say a few words?
I'm Christian Nielsen. I'm from DTU Skylab, the innovation hub of DTU. I'm working with research-based innovation. That means helping researchers go from idea to creating startup spin-outs. I have 25 years of experience getting products to the market in corporate, in scale-up, and in my own startup. And now I'm doing it in academia.
Yes. And we've also been very interested in seeing who you guys are. So I hope you'll indulge us and stand up if you feel you fit into the categories I'm saying now. So are any of you working as researchers today? Yes, please stand up so we can see you. Fantastic. Welcome. And are any of you can sit down again? And are any of you engaged in research-based or knowledge-based startups today? Yes, fantastic. How many work at the universities with business development? We have some too. Fantastic. How many would define yourself as ecosystem actors that can be working in corporate but volunteering to help entrepreneurs or being part of building ecosystems or investors? Yeah, fantastic. And how many have tried to collaborate with universities? Not many. Good. Thank you so much. It's much easier when you know who's in the room. So, I have a background as a lecturer, so I will start us out with a definition. When we talk research-based startups, then we talk about startups that are based on scientific research or technological breakthroughs. They're run by researchers, founded by researchers, and sometimes the universities have helped and supported that process. They differ from regular startups in a number of ways. You can say that the risk profile is higher because we both have the market risk that every startup runs, but there's also the product risk because what works in the lab does not necessarily work on a larger scale. That leads to a need for extra soft funding, risk-willing funding, longer timelines in terms of when to act, for how long it takes to spin out, and a team that is research heavy, which is really good for product, but often also lacking commercial competencies. And that leads to that it's quite a risky thing. We invest a lot of money in research, and not so much comes out when we talk startup. So we have this concept of the valley of death, where what we can do in research does not always meet what makes commercial sense. When we still think it's a really good idea to work in this space, it's of course due to high risk often provides high opportunity. And luckily, we're not the only one thinking that. So when we look at research-based startups, once they go past the startup phase, they actually have a higher potential to survive. And imagine if all that great knowledge that's being produced at the universities could benefit society in an even faster way. And we're very happy that the government also thinks that by placing 90 million on commercialization of innovation, or commercialization of research next year. So that's really interesting. You could say, well, that's fine, but are we just creating brain drain at the universities? Well, actually not. Riccardo Fini, which is a well-renowned researcher, he's looked into a UK study of 10,000 researchers, and he found that the ones that engage in entrepreneurial activity and stay at the universities at the same time, they actually get higher impact on the research and higher number of citations. So we're back into kind of the core business. And if you're in the early career as a researcher, then the numbers are quite staggering in that we have a UK study where more than half of the PhDs do not continue in the university world, but go straight out into the rest of the world. And only 3.5% actually make it to be permanent hires. So in that sense, entrepreneurship becomes a different path to actually impact with the knowledge that you've specialized in. And these were some of the things that made us found Open Entrepreneurship as a national collaboration between the universities in Denmark back in 2017. We were very inspired by the open ecosystems of Berkeley, of Stanford, and we wanted to have that openness and bring in external entrepreneurs into the universities, both because we could do a great match, but also because then the researchers did not necessarily need to leave the university full-time to actually realize the spin-outs. And it's been quite a journey. When we started, the ecosystem was much less mature. And that has led us to develop a model where open entrepreneurship looks very different at each university. It's adapted to the local culture. And one of the main things that we've tried to do is to build capacity. Some places, there was already a strong tech transfer organization in place. Other places, they didn't barely have any offers for researchers. So we've developed to kind of fill out the gaps in each of them. We've also worked with concepts, creating concepts, shared tools, and that's what we're going to talk more about today. We've worked with building a corp, so a corp of entrepreneurs that are willing to join us on this journey. Collaboration among universities is not a small feat. We're very, very happy that we in 22 managed to get all universities on board in this project. And giving back to the community. And so far, we're very proud to say that we've been part of helping 121 startups register their CVR number based on research. And that number, at least for me, coming from more startup-y world, was not very impressive at first. But then I started looking into it, and it turns out that from 17 to 19, on a national level, 24 spin-outs were spun out. And spin-outs is a more specific definition, so that there needs to be IP involved as well. So we're IP agnostic, so in that sense we have a bigger number. But that was 2 years on a national level. So we have had a part in at least 121 startups and all 8 universities. And more are coming. I think actually the number raised to 122 when I checked this morning. And the way we work is with the human connection. So these beautiful people are some of the business unit managers, some of the project leaders that are colleagues across all universities. We meet up 4 times a year and collaborate. And what we really try to do is, with this circle, create a human connection between the research world and the entrepreneurial world. And we do that through people. And to not only leverage what each individual can do, we've also built a digital platform to extend on that network. And that's where we onboard and try to open up the university world to all that come from outside. Yes. And I want to share with you one concept that we've been developing in 23, which for me personally, the need arose when I was to talk about, so what do we mean when we talk pre-startups? What is that? And I think we can all agree that these are kind of major boxes of a startup life, what they go through. And the seed is definitely where it's most risky and most early stage, except that when we talk universities and open entrepreneurship, we start way before that. And basically we start moving from idea to startup. And I know it might not look of much. We've made a concept of 4 basic boxes, but agreeing and figuring out what goes into these boxes, when is a case a discovery case, when is it maturity, across social sciences to life sciences to space technology, across all of these concepts, can we create a shared language? And that's what we're in the process of doing. And just to dive a bit into that, the first step we call scouting, and that's really where the opportunity recognition goes in. When we meet a researcher for the first time, they're very passionate about creating an impact with their research, but not necessarily in a business context. So we start that dialogue, and sometimes it takes half years or years, and sometimes it's an instant click, yes, that's exactly what I want to do. But once kind of agreement, yes, we see a potential in what this research could be doing to benefit society, and the researcher is ready, we move on to the discovery phase. And here, it's about finding that initial problem-solution fit, or ideally a lot of them, to make sure that we've kind of covered all the possibilities. And again, the researchers do not necessarily have a business background, so it's also a journey of figuring out what is a customer, what does it entail, what is this entrepreneurship thing? And we most often do it case by case, so we don't offer big courses on how to get involved, but take it as a peer-to-peer interaction when a business developer talks to the researchers. Because at this stage, entrepreneurship is just that extra thing you do on top of your more than full-time job of publishing, researching, teaching, and all the other things that you need to do. But moving on to the maturation phase, that's where it gets serious. That's where the journey is towards becoming a startup. That's where the team formation is important, because you're probably not going to do it alone. It's where building a compelling business case that can actually attract hard funding. It's getting all the formalities in place. Is there IP involved? Well, then you better go and get the agreements done, and the agreement to collaborate within the team. And once the startup registers with a CVR and actually starts on that other journey that we normally work with, in open entrepreneurship, we're quite agnostic to how does it look? Is it a startup, a spin-out, collaboration? But that's where we start the handover process of handing over the cases to other system actors, because that's where the university part stops, but we do hope to continue the collaboration. And this is basically what we do. I want to again say we do early and ongoing engagement with the cases. We involve experienced entrepreneurs. We're so happy that more than 80 have already signed up on our platform, showing their commitment to engage. And it's a no one-size-fits-all. We do everything on an adapted scale. And I'll end my part, because we're soon going to go to Christian, with an invitation. Are you a researcher? Are you curious? Could my research maybe become a business? Then if you already know who to go to those. If you're unsure, we can help you go there. And if you're from the outside and you want to help us on this journey, if you want to help us create world-class companies out of world-class research, well, then go to the other, and we'll have a dialogue on how you can help on the journey. And now I'll hand over this one, and this to Christian from DTU Skylab. They're an essential partner in the open entrepreneurship collaboration, and especially you've contributed a lot on the tools and concepts development, and that's what we're going to hear about now.
Thank you very much, Nynne. Yes, I'm from Skylab. Skylab, that is an innovation hub for DTU, for technology and entrepreneurship. And we're happy to be part of open entrepreneurship because that is a way of continuously developing our tools, getting insights from other universities and so on. So we like to share, we like to learn. So I think that's a very important body to keep everything together across all the universities here. Skylab in itself, we've been here since 2014. It is a very busy place. A lot of things are happening. A lot of things are happening 24/7. Many people, students, researchers coming through the doors. We got 365 coaching projects that we are coaching last year. And we had 71 startups coming out of DTU last year. So, busy place, lots of things happening. Sometimes we need to see how can we control all the activities around or let them go. But I think that's part of the fun of it. What I'm going to talk about is three things. A little about my experiences with the characteristics. It should be said, I've been at Skylab for 2 years and started to roam around at DTU to find interesting projects. Ended up in Skylab, and I never regret it. But there are three things that I think, or one thing about the characteristics of research-based innovation which surprised me. Then I'll talk a bit about our journey and kind of build on Nynne's start here, and then about the toolbox that you're using to help researchers. Nynne already talked about time. When you are in deep tech, things take time. It's risky. And this interesting thing, it's not only risky from a kind of technological point of view, but also time in itself imposes risk. So the team that you have in the beginning may be very different than the team that you have in the end when you spin out. Because time goes, somebody gets a kid, want to have a job, somebody realizes I'm not an entrepreneur, I want to be in academia and so on. So all this we have to be very, agile in handling teams and people and so on. Researchers. We have researchers who got an idea and simply want to get out and be part of a startup. Especially younger researchers, we see many examples going out there. We also have researchers who are researchers and will be it forever, and that's very good that we do have a strong research, but they want to get their ideas out in the world, and we discuss with them how can we create a team taking it out. And we have researchers who want both, and we can accommodate that and help them. And we have researchers who are actually in doubt, and we should accommodate that during this path they will actually realize will it be one or the other when they start up. And that brings us, and what it should be said that from our point of view, whatever they do, it's a success. We are happy if they are strong researchers. We are happy if they get out and make a strong startup. That means also team formation is a large part of our work, helping, for example, to get commercial talent in, or when somebody suddenly leaves the project, discuss with them how can we fill out that hole and get on with the project. PhDs have a story of themselves. They are actually there to have a PhD. That means that often the timing needs to be adjusted so that they can finish their PhD and then they can start up being founders of their company and so on. And then one thing I hadn't seen, that is this professor-pupil schism when you make a startup. Because you may over years have built a relation where the professor is instructing the pupil and being the one where you go to when you need help. But one day the pupil is the CEO, and you have to reverse the roles. And that means that both parts need to adapt to their roles. The CEO actually needs to sit at the end of the chair and say, I'm controlling this, I know where we are going. And the professor, whom the light is often shining on, maybe he should take his shine, but at some point he should roll over the ball and let the CEO take over and finish the deal. If they don't understand this, they will have some very funny customer meetings once in a while. Anyway, with all this, the same thing, is it worth the hassle? Yes, it is, because we do create very robust companies. We have high success rate of survival for DTU startups, and even higher if there's IP involved. Furthermore, we have kind of the upward spiral of research spin-out. So many are afraid of the kind of the brain drain when people are leaving for a spin-out. Often it's the most brightest in the section, and suddenly they're gone. But if you do it right, and we have many examples due to you, if you do it right, then you can get out the spin out, maybe be part of it as a professor. Establish research relations so you get data from real life getting grants which covers both the startup and the section. You can hire new PhD students working on these grants, and they get inspired and they start startups. We have many examples of this, and I think that is a model we should work further on and so on. Our journey, this is actually more or less the same as Lønne showed earlier, just expanded a bit. This is actually the page we use to discuss with a researcher what's ahead. Somebody comes in with an idea, and then where are we going? So from the very early, the scouting and ideation, a project may start with that suddenly we have a notification of an invention in our hand and say, well, is this viable? Should we go on with this? Or it's about that we see a problem and discuss how can that be solved and so on. So it can start in many ways. To get started to figure out what is it really about, we have the discovery phase. And here we help with money, such that the group can investigate, is there anything, can we build a prototype of this? Can we investigate, is there a market for this, and so on. And in that, after that phase, we can go out and say, okay, now we believe in it, we think we know the direction that we're going, and then there can be a pretty long mature phase where the technology needs to go there, and we need to work with commercial aspects again. 3 to 6 months before the spin out, suddenly somebody in the group say, oh, we'll establish a company in April. And the thing is, then when they say that, everything changes. Because then we have to get hold of tech transfer. How do we get a salary from April? How do we, what about legal, and so on and so on. So that means the game changes totally for the group and for the support that we are giving them. And then of course, we talk with them about how do you get funding, how do you secure funding going forward when you have a CVR number. This line is very sharp, that it's one world and it's another world. And of course, we also talk with them about where is this actually going? Is it a technology company where we work for 5 years and then we sell it for $1 billion? Or is it something that I want to work with for the next 30 years in my life? It can be both, and everything is actually good. In between here, I will cut this a bit short, but in between here we have some programs that we can add in, the use case challenge where we can pull in through open entrepreneurs, entrepreneurs from industry discussing what is this actually good for. We have mentor programs where the team can discuss again with experienced entrepreneurs, and we can help with the co-founders again with experience from the industry. Tech transfer and Skylab have been around for a long time, and of course we've been working with tools and so on, but it has also been on a very individual basis. So the tools that we are using and so on, we collected those in a toolbox where we kind of have, when do we apply which one, and we can discuss it with the researchers. So the visual front page of that is this one, where we say we have included all our tools in six workshops to make it easy. That means that we together with a project, we can go through the 6 workshops and see that we covered all the bases going through there. But of course, all projects are individual. So Tom will actually, when they are in the early discovery phase, will just run the first one and then wait until it makes sense to look on the rest. Or depending on where we are, maybe they know exactly what they're doing. But this thing of getting ready for seeking money, then we start in workshop 3 and so on. So remember that even though we have put this in a linear thing, then it may be pick and choose, or it may be repetitive that we need to go through it.
And a quick note, even though it says workshop, it's still a workshop for one case at the time.
Yeah. So the first one is actually just about expectation setting. Who are the team? How much can they invest of time in this and go on? And then alignment of what is needed to get going. Next one is about getting sure of the problem and the solution that we are providing. And there can actually be many problems that we want to address with this technology. And we have to start working on what is the most important and what's the easiest to get to, or where is the largest potential, and how do we combine these things. We work in the business model canvas here in the right side of it. Who are the stakeholders, and what value do we provide to these stakeholders? And we formulate this number of value propositions that we may pursue. In the next one, we discuss how do we actually get market insights. That means everybody asks about market reports, which is good. It's a good top-down to see what is kind of the established market out there. But it's also about getting out to the customers, discuss with them, understanding what it is, look at the competition, and see how can we actually differentiate with our products. And the good thing is that when you have deep tech and you do something, sometimes or often you can establish kind of a unique market position. The thing is, it has always to be pointed towards the customers. In this one, we check, what is the roadmap to get there? How do we design it? What is the strategic plan actually to get to market, partnerships, and so on? IP and legal, we need to get in place. When do we do what, and so on. And we get to the team formation, because from the plans it becomes pretty obvious what is missing and of talent helping with this, and how do we acquire this? Do we hire? Is it co-founding, or is it just consultancy that we are getting into the system? And the last one is actually getting everything together, creating an investor deck, getting ready, getting your data room up and going, so you're ready to go. So you see, this part is actually about when you are standing right before getting out and need to find funding. The good thing about the order that we have here, that is each module takes its own section of an investor deck, and so you can kind of feed it forward into that, and you know what you're working with. And of course, during these years, you may have pivot and it will be different, but then it's pretty clear where do you go in and change and how do you go about it. This is first version. So of course, we're working with a number of things that how should this be built on to, and I won't go into details with that. But when you have first version, you look at it and say, well, wow, that's not enough, and so on. So we are in the process of working on it, and the question to you is, of course, what are we missing? What do we need to add to the workshop, or to the line of workshops, or in our toolbox? So I expect and hope that you will, if you're sitting there leaning, thinking, well, why the heck are they doing that? Then that you contact me and we can have a discussion.
Very well.
Is that?
And, Yeah, let's do the very last one. We'll end this by saying thank you very much for being here and listening. If we're going to be here in the area, if you want to continue the dialogue straight ahead, you're also welcome to contact us with the many QR codes. Mona over there is having physical brochures if you're not all for digital pictures. And for the OE people, we're wearing white T-shirts, and we'd be more than happy to talk more about what the collaboration actually does.
Thank you
Thank
very
you,
much.
guys.